Good morning. Hopefully this one works a little better than the last time. What we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of joints in your skeletal system. So the first thing that I wanted to go over was kind of what joints are. And what they are is they are a place where two bones are going to meet and basically touch. So it's just any place where two bones come in contact with one another. So some of your bones are going to have what's called a meniscus, and some bones will not. There's really only two places in your body that you're going to have this meniscus, and that's going to be in your jaw and in your knee. And what the meniscus is there for is it's just a piece of cartilage that's going to help your bones with some additional shock absorption. So it's, like I said, it's going to be there mostly for the additional cushion and support. So like I said, there's only two spots in your body for those. In addition to a joint, you're also going to have what's called a ligament, and that's actually going to hold the two bones together. So all right. There are three major types of joints. The first type is called a fibrous joint. These are going to be joined by dense connective tissue. Sometimes they're going to ossify into bone. Not all of it will ossify into bone, though. So there's going to be basically no movement at these particular joints. You don't typically think of joints as being non-movable, but since a joint is technically defined as a place where two bones meet, places like in your skull where your frontal bone meets your parietal bone, that is where the sutures are, that's technically a type of a joint. So like I said, you don't typically think of those as being joints, but they are. Second type of joint is called a cartilaginous joint, and this particular joint is going to be held together by what's called fibrocartilage. So again, there's not going to be a lot of movement here, but what they're there for is to allow things to expand and contract, and they're also there to provide some additional cushion and support in between bones. The two major places you're going to find these are going to be in between your vertebrae, those little cartilage discs, in between the different vertebrae. Those are going to be cartilaginous joints because, again, it is technically where two bones meet, and it's just held together with this fibrocartilage. So the other place you're going to see it is going to be connecting the front part of your pelvic bone together, holding the two pubis bones together. So it's not so necessary in males, but it's necessary in females for when they give birth. That allows the pelvic area to enlarge a little bit to allow the baby through. So that's what a cartilaginous joint is going to be necessary for. Now, the one that you're probably the most familiar with is going to be your synovial joint. So with these, you are going to, you're going to have these synovial joints. These are the ones that you're most familiar with. And with these are all the ones that are going to move. There are 6 different types of synovial joints. The first type is called the ball and socket joint. This is going to allow for movement in all three planes. So you're going to be able to rotate, you're going to be able to go up and down, forward and backward, and on diagonal. And you're also going to be able to completely rotate. So you're going to be able to go straight up, straight down, straight forward, straight back. You can do that complete circular motion. You're only going to find these in two locations. You're going to find them at your ball and socket, or sorry, at your shoulder, where your humerus meets your scapula, your shoulder bone, and you're also going to find it where your femur meets your pelvic bone. So the femur and the humerus are the ball, and then the scapula and the pelvic bone are going to provide that socket part where the ball portion of the joint is going to be able to rotate. Second type of synovial joint we're going to look at is called the condyloid joint. This allows for you to move on all three planes, but it doesn't allow you to go straight up and straight down, so you can't technically rotate it completely. So you can go up, down, back, forward, diagonal, but you can't do that straight up and straight down rotation. So the place there is going to be your metacarpal and phalangeal joints, basically your knuckle, where your hand meets your finger. So you can go up and down, you can go side to side, you can go diagonal, but you can't technically get your finger all the way up and all the way down and all the way to the right and all the way to the left, to get that complete circle. Okay, your gliding joints are going to be the next one. With these, you're going to have yes, they move, but they're more there to basically provide some pressure release, I guess. Basically, it's where your wrist is. So it's the joints between your carpals. So if you watch when you if you make a fist and then you move you make your hand kind of move, you can see that all that's probably moving is those bones are either getting closer together or further apart, depending on which way you're going to move them. So they don't really provide for any rotation. They don't provide for movement on three planes. It's just literally they're going to move back and forth, expanding and contracting volume, I guess. Not true volume, but just the space that they're going to take up. So the fourth type of synovial joint that we're going to talk about is called a hinge joint. In this particular joint, you've got one bone that is convex and one bone that is concave. What I mean by convex and concave, if you don't know what those mean, is a convex bone is going to jut out a little bit, and then the concave bone is going to go in. So think of a spoon. What I would call the back side of the spoon, that's the convex side. It kind of bulges out. The concave side is going to be the part that dips in. So that would be the part that actually holds the food or whatever that you're trying to do with the spoon. So you can only move in one direction. You can basically open and shut these hinge joints. If you think about them like hinges on a door, you can only open the door in one direction. You can't open it up and down. You can only move it like in one side to side. So your knee and your elbow joints are examples of those. Technically, your individual phalangeal joints, so in your actual phalanges, when you move your fingers up and down, those are actually hinge joints. Now, not the knuckle part, because you can you can't really rotate, but you can move more there. But the actual finger knuckles, not the hand to finger knuckle, those are going to be hinge joints also. Your last two joints, your pivot joints and your saddle joints. Your pivot joints are going to allow for rotation and rotational movement. So these are going to be located between your atlas and your axis. Those are your first two vertebrae, if you remember, the two topmost ones, and that allows you to shake your head no. So that's a pivot joint. You can also roll your neck some, when you're trying to relax or something, or pop your neck or something. That all is due to your pivot joint there. Okay. Then you've also got one at the proximal side of your ulna and your radius. So that means it's towards your elbow, not towards your wrist. because you technically have the proximal end of your radius and ulna and your distal end. So your proximal one by your elbow is going to allow you, that allows you to kind of take your hand and wave it goodbye. So if you opened your hand and then kind of waved it goodbye, that particular joint is going to allow you, that pivot joint is going to allow your hand to rotate to be able to do that goodbye. The last one is a saddle joint, and this allows for movement in all directions and rotations and all that. And there's only one place you can find a saddle joint, and that's at your carpometacarpal joint, so where your thumb connects to your wrist. So you can kind of feel it down below. If you go down to where your wrist is, you can feel that joint right there. So it's below that skin. So it's actually at the base of your hand there, and that's your only saddle joint. That allows us to grip things like pencils and baseball bats and things like that. So that kind of wraps up the joints. Hopefully this makes sense. I think as far as I can tell, it's gone ahead and recorded it, which is a good thing. So when you're done with this, you can go ahead and go back and answer all of your questions with the skeletal system review there. So if you need more time tomorrow after your quiz to study it, or to finish it, let me know. Like I said, tomorrow your quiz is going to be over the anatomy, vocabulary, types of tissues, the integumentary system, and then the first set of skeletal system notes. So it's not going to go into bone shapes, I don't think, and it's not going to go into types of joints. It's just going to be over the bones, the skeletal system as a whole, so like functions, the anatomy of a long bone, okay? So, and that'll be it. So, and that'll be your quiz on Friday. So if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, have a good day.